Hello, everyone, and welcome to the course of world history. I am Mr. Samuelson, your host for this journey. Today, we are going to be looking at Rome and the Byzantines. Specifically, where did the Byzantine Empire come from, and what was their connection to Rome? So let's start with Rome. See, the Roman Empire was in trouble. Really starting in the 200 CE, they had been attacked by a series of barbarian invasions and civil wars, and had just been ripping themselves apart. And in 284, the Emperor Diocletian realized that at the root of the empire's problems was that it was simply too big for a single emperor to manage. Emperors had to move from place to place, putting out fires all the time. They could never be doing fire prevention. So he split up the empire. Now, in reality, Diocletian broke it into four pieces, with a senior and junior emperor in charge of different areas. So you might have a senior emperor in charge of Italia and a junior emperor in charge of this area. Senior over here and a junior emperor here. But in reality, the practicality of this wound up shaking out to be that the empire was divided into halves, Eastern and Western halves. Now, in the Eastern Roman Empire in 306 CE, the Emperor Constantine takes over. Constantine was a very strong, very focused, determined emperor who got a lot done during his reign. Just as a quick side note, he is also the emperor that brought Christianity into the Roman Empire. But Constantine, in this episode, was really focused on defending and building his half of the empire up. And he started by focusing on rebuilding the Greek city of Byzantium as a formidable and defensive eastern capital. It was a really good location, but a relatively insignificant city. He wanted to take that city and make it into something greater than Rome itself. And through these efforts and through his tremendous wealth of the eastern half of the empire, they were able to build this new eastern capital, which they named after Constantine, Constantinople. You get to do that when you're the emperor, name stuff after yourself. It's a pretty cool gig. Alexander the Great did that too. Check out how many Alexandrias exist in this world. Back to Constantine. Constantinople served as the capital of the Eastern Roman Empire for 1,100 years. It did okay for itself. It lasted for a while. While the East was focused on defending themselves and building up their empire, the West was falling apart. The strength and wealth of the Eastern Empire really did help it resist barbarian invasions. They couldn't get past Constantinople. The East did lose some territory, which they were able to later get back. But barbarians could not make it past Constantinople very successfully. The Western Empire, however, was not so fortunate. They got overrun time and time and time again. In 410 CE, for the first time in 800 years, Rome itself was sacked by the Visigoths. And by 476, the final Roman emperor, at that point living in Ravenna, was forced out of power, and there were no more Western Roman emperors. In the East, however, they continued to exist another 1,000 years. Another 1,000 years of Roman rule in the East, and they will continue until 1453. That's 1453 CE. This is like a few years before, 1492 Columbus sails the ocean blue type time. So the Eastern Roman Empire lives on, and they maintain their Roman identity, and they retain their Roman heritage. They call themselves Romans. Their empire is referred to as Romania. But in the 1600s, later historians, particularly Western historians, created this new name for them, the Byzantines, so that they could separate out their history between East and West, between the traditional old-style Roman Empire centered around Rome and this later Roman Empire centered around Constantinople. So the Byzantine survival. The Byzantines do survive apart from Rome for about 1,000 years after Rome falls. At times, they are doing very well. At times, their empire is thriving. It's expanding. At other times, it is weakening. It's shrinking. The peak of the Byzantine time during the reign of Justinian, they had reconquered Italy, reconquered Rome, North Africa, parts of Spain. Their Byzantine empire is looking almost like the old Roman Empire. And then you look at the later times, it is literally just this city and this island, and that's all they've got. So it really does wax and wane. Now, Constantinople was a key part of how the empire survives and builds, because when Constantine built this city, he wasn't messing around. He built it in a location that would completely control any trade between the Black Sea and the Mediterranean Sea, right along this strait called the Bosphorus. This position helped also control all land trade, east and west, throughout the area. So all trade from the Black Sea to the Mediterranean, all trade from Europe to Asia had to pass by Constantinople, so Constantinople gets a piece of it. The Byzantines get a piece of it. And they protect the heck out of this by building really strong cities, building really strong walls to defend their city right along here. These big super walls. And a city that is really already surrounded by a lot of water. So land invasion could only come through these walls, good luck. And sea invasion was controlled by this city on a hill. You can see the altitude here, where you would have to fight uphill with the Byzantines shooting down and sinking your ships the whole way. Really a well-defended city. Now, the peak of Byzantine power does come in 565 under the reign of the Emperor Justinian, who sought to reconquer the West and to reunite the old Roman Empire. And during his lifetime, he comes close to doing this. He takes Italy, he takes North Africa, some of Spain. He's on the verge of reuniting the empire, but he does die. He has a long reign, but he dies. And within a few years of Justinian's death, most of his territorial gains are lost. And the Byzantines enter into a period of long decline. Now, it is a long decline. It's an 800-year-long decline. But from 600 CE until 1453, the empire is shrinking much more than it is expanding. An exception to this is about a 200-year period of time, from 867 to 1081, where the Macedonian emperors take over. Okay, it's a group of emperors from right in here who take over the empire itself and kind of restabilize it and even push the borders back out. So this would be the peak during the Macedonian emperors. Nowhere close to what Justinian had done, but doing a lot better. But the real heart of this empire was the city of Constantinople. This location right here, all trade between these two seas, all trade between Asia and Europe, being controlled by the city of Constantinople, led to immense wealth and maintained the strength of the empire, kept it going. That's all we have for today. I do hope that you learned something and that you will join us next time. Farewell.